You ever get paid, open your bank app, and for half a second think, okay, maybe this month will be different. And then rent shows up like it's been awaiting patiently, and your credit card balance just stares back at you like, don't look at me like that, you did this. It's not even excitement. It's more like cautious optimism, the kind you don't say out loud because you don't want to jinx it. For a brief moment, you feel responsible, like a real adult, like you're finally getting your footing. And then Amazon charges you for something you don't remember ordering, Netflix reminds you it exists, your phone bill hits, and suddenly that we're okay feeling is gone. I remember sitting on my couch one night, lights off, TV paused, just staring at my phone. Not angry, not panicked, just tired. The kind of tired sleep doesn't fix. I wasn't thinking about buying fancy stuff or living large. I was thinking, how am I working this hard and still feel like I'm barely holding it together? Because I was doing everything right. Showing up, staying late, answering emails I shouldn't have answered, saying yes when I wanted to say no. And still, every month felt like starting over. Sunday night would roll around and I'd do that thing we all do, where you mentally replay every purchase, trying to figure out where the money went, as if one of those transactions might jump out and say, here's the problem. But there was no problem, just groceries, gas, bills, stuff that keeps you alive. Nothing fun, nothing exciting, nothing worth the stress it caused. And then like clockwork, I'd open social media. Some guy from high school is posting at 11:37 on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, sunlight everywhere. Caption says something like, "Grateful for the freedom I've built." And I'm sitting there like, freedom from what? Because last time I checked, you used to borrow my calculator and never give it back. That's the part that messes with you. Not in a jealous way, in a quiet way. What am I missing kind of way. Because they weren't smarter than you, they weren't richer growing up, they didn't have some secret head start. They complained about work just like you did. They hated Mondays just like you did. So how are they posting at brunch while you're calculating if you can afford both gas and groceries this week? If you've ever felt that confusion, let me say this clearly. You're not lazy. You're not irresponsible. You're not bad with money. You didn't mess up your life. What you're feeling is the emotional weight of trying really hard in a system that doesn't reward effort the way it used to. Nobody warned us about this part. We were told, work hard and things will work out. They didn't mention that costs would rise faster than paychecks. They didn't mention that being responsible would still feel like drowning sometimes. They didn't mention that you could do everything right and still feel behind. So if you've been blaming yourself quietly, please don't. This frustration makes sense. And here's something wild. Most people who are struggling right now aren't reckless. They're not blowing money on dumb stuff. They're just surviving in a world that keeps getting more expensive. Have you ever gotten a raise and still felt stressed? Like nothing actually changed? That's not because you're ungrateful. It's because the math stopped mathing. And here's where the uncomfortable realization starts. The problem isn't that you're not working hard enough. The problem is that every dollar you earn disappears the moment you stop showing up. No work tomorrow, no money tomorrow. That's not stability. That's a treadmill. And the people who seem like they're getting rich without working more, they didn't magically escape effort. They just stopped tying all of their effort to the next paycheck. That idea messed with me, because I'd been taught that exhaustion was normal, that being tired meant I was doing something right, that grinding harder was the answer. But what if it's not? What if working more hours in the same setup doesn't move you forward, it just makes you better at surviving? That question changed everything for me. And once you start asking it, you can't go back to pretending you didn't notice. Every time I thought about it, it made me uncomfortable, because it meant admitting something I didn't want to admit. Hard work wasn't the problem, and hard work alone wasn't going to be the solution. I used to think people who talked about making money while they sleep were lying or selling something, and honestly, a lot of them are. But that doesn't mean the idea itself is fake. It just means most people explain it terribly. Here's the simplest way I can put it. Most of us get paid once for our effort. You show up, you do the thing, you get paid. End of story. Miss a day, and the money misses you right back. That's not a flaw in you. That's just how most jobs are designed. But the people pulling ahead figured out something small that makes a huge difference. They try to get paid more than once for the same effort. That's it. That's the whole shift. Not working nonstop, not burning out, just building things that don't vanish the moment the work is done. Think about it like this. Imagine digging a hole and filling it back in every day. You'd be exhausted, and at the end of the month, there'd be nothing to show for it. Now imagine digging a hole once and letting it turn into something useful. Same shovel, different outcome. Most of us are stuck digging and refilling because that's all we were shown. Nobody ever said, hey, what you build matters more than how long you build. So we chase overtime, side hustles, another shift, another gig. And it helps, for a minute, until you're tired again, until life happens again, until you realize you can't outwork time. That was the moment it clicked for me. I didn't need more hours. I needed effort that lasted longer than a paycheck cycle. And no, this doesn't mean quitting your job or doing something risky. Most people who change their situation don't do anything dramatic at first. They just start asking better questions. Instead of, how do I make more money this month? They ask, how do I make this effort still matter next month? Small difference, massive impact. Because once you start looking at your time that way, everything feels different. You stop chasing quick wins. You stop burning yourself out for temporary relief. You start thinking in terms of leverage instead of hours. And yes, before you roll your eyes, leverage doesn't mean spreadsheets or finance words or wearing a blazer. It just means this. Can one thing you do today help you tomorrow without you starting from zero again? That's it. And here's where most people get stuck. They think this is only for business owners or tech people or influencers. It's not. Those are just the loud examples. In real life, it looks way more boring than Instagram makes it seem. It looks like creating something once and letting it do its thing quietly. It looks like systems instead of sprints. It looks like patience instead of panic. And yes, it looks slower at first. That's the part nobody likes, because at the beginning it feels like you're doing extra work for no immediate reward, which is uncomfortable when you're already tired. I remember thinking, I can't afford to spend time on something that doesn't pay me right now. And that thought makes sense. It really does. But here's the flip side nobody tells you. You also can't afford to stay stuck in a setup where nothing changes. Because time passes either way. Another year will go by whether you build something or not. The only question is what you'll have at the end of it. And that's when I noticed something else. People who seem lucky with money aren't lucky at all. They're just a few years into decisions that didn't pay off immediately. You don't see the boring nights. You don't see the doubts. You don't see the moments where they almost quit. You only see the part where it finally starts working. And that's dangerous, because it makes it feel unattainable. But it's not. It's just delayed. And delayed effort messes with our brains. We're used to instant feedback. Clock in, clock out. Money shows up. Anything else feels fake. Until it doesn't. Until one day something you built quietly starts showing up without you pushing it. And when that happens, it changes how you breathe. Not because you're rich, but because the pressure eases just a little. And that little bit of relief, that's everything. That first moment of relief is hard to explain unless you felt it. It's not fireworks, it's not champagne, it's a quiet exhale. It's checking your phone and realizing you didn't wake up already behind. It's knowing that if tomorrow goes sideways, everything doesn't instantly fall apart. And once you taste that, you realize something important. The real flex isn't working non-stop. It's not being stressed all the time. Most of us were taught that stress is just part of being an adult, that being overwhelmed means you're doing something right. But that's not strength, that's survival mode. The people getting ahead figured out how to step out of survival mode without abandoning responsibility. They didn't escape effort, they redirected it. Here's where I need to slow this down, because this is where people get the wrong idea. This isn't about chasing trends. It's not about crypto or day trading or doing weird stuff online. Those are distractions. What actually works is painfully simple. They put their effort into things that don't reset every morning, things that grow quietly while life keeps moving. And yeah, at first it feels boring. No one claps for consistency, no one comments on patience. You don't get praise for building something that hasn't paid you yet. But that's the point. Most people quit right there. They go back to what feels productive, what feels busy, what feels safe, even if it keeps them stuck. I almost did the same thing. I remember thinking, this isn't working fast enough. And that's when I caught myself. Fast enough for what? To stay exhausted? Because here's the honest truth. Working harder was never going to give me peace. It was just going to give me better excuses for being tired. So I had to change how I measured progress. Instead of asking, how much did I make today? I started asking, did anything I did today make tomorrow easier? That question sounds small, but it changes everything. Because suddenly scrolling felt expensive, busy work felt pointless, and effort started to feel intentional. We work, we get paid, we repeat. No accumulation, no carryover, just reset. The shift happens when effort starts to stack, when one thing leads to another instead of replacing it. And the crazy part? Once you experience that even a little, you stop craving chaos. You stop romanticizing being busy. You stop bragging about being exhausted, because you realize exhaustion isn't impressive, it's expensive. It costs your energy, your focus, your patience, and eventually your health. Nobody talks about that part enough. We treat burnout like a badge of honor, like proof we're trying hard enough. But burnout doesn't build wealth, it just builds resentment. I've seen people work themselves into the ground and still struggle, and I've seen people work calmly and steadily and somehow pull ahead. The difference wasn't effort, it was direction. And direction is something you can change, even slowly, even imperfectly. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need to stop pouring all your energy into things that disappear. Ask yourself this tonight, honestly. If I stop working for a week, what still moves forward? For most people, the answer is nothing. And that's not a judgment, that's just information. Information you can use. Because once you see that, you can start making small changes. You can start shifting even 10% of your effort towards something that lasts. And that 10% matters more than you think. Because effort that stacks compounds quietly. You don't feel it at first, you don't see it immediately. But one day you look back and realize you're not in the same place anymore. And that's when people around you start asking questions. They'll say things like, how did you do that? When did this start? And you'll struggle to answer. Because there was no moment, no big break, just consistency. Just choosing to build instead of sprint. And here's the best part. When effort stacks, your time opens up. Not all at once, but little by little. You stop feeling rushed, you stop feeling trapped. You gain flexibility. And flexibility is what most people are actually chasing when they say they want money. Flexibility to handle life, flexibility to breathe, flexibility to choose. That's the real goal. Not more stuff, more control. And control doesn't come from working yourself into the ground. It comes from building something that doesn't need you every second. Control changes how you see everything. When you don't have it, even small problems feel huge. A surprise bill can ruin your week. A slow month can wreck your sleep. But when you have a little control, life hits differently. You don't panic as fast. You don't spiral as deep. You don't feel like everything is one mistake away from falling apart. And that's why this conversation matters. Because most people aren't chasing luxury, they're chasing stability. They just don't realize it yet. We're sold this idea that success looks flashy, but in real life, success is quiet. It's not stressing about groceries. It's not checking your bank app before every purchase. It's not feeling guilty every time you rest. The people who figured this out didn't wake up one day with everything solved. They just stopped expecting one paycheck to do all the work. That's a heavy expectation. Imagine expecting one chair to hold up your entire house. It's gonna crack eventually. Multiple supports don't mean more stress. They mean less. Because if one thing wobbles, everything doesn't collapse. This is why people who build income that stacks don't freak out the same way. They're not fearless, they're buffered. And buffers change behavior. You speak up more, you negotiate better, you walk away sooner. Not because you're arrogant, because you're not desperate. Desperation is what keeps people trapped. Trapped in jobs they hate, trapped in schedules that drain them, trapped in cycles they can't break. And And desperation doesn't come from weakness, it comes from dependence. When everything depends on one source, you cling to it, even when it hurts, even when it costs you more than money. The goal isn't to eliminate work, the goal is to eliminate fear. Fear of missing a paycheck, fear of saying no, fear of one bad month ruining everything. That fear is heavy, and once you start reducing it, even slightly, your whole nervous system calms down. You start thinking clearly, and clarity leads to better decisions. That's the part nobody tells you. Money doesn't just buy things, it buys mental space. And mental space is where good ideas come from. It's where patience lives. It's where long-term thinking becomes possible. Without space, you're just reacting. Reacting to bills, reacting to stress, reacting to exhaustion. That's not a failure, that's a consequence. So if you've been stuck in reaction mode, don't shame yourself. Ask how to create space. And space doesn't require millions, it requires momentum. One thing that keeps going, one thing that doesn't vanish when you rest. And once you have that, even a small one, you feel different. You show up differently. You stop measuring your worth by how busy you are. You stop equating exhaustion with progress. You realize you don't need to suffer to deserve stability. And that realization is powerful. Because once you believe you're allowed to build a calmer life, you start building it. Slowly, quietly, without asking permission. That's how people get ahead without working more. They stopped burning energy just to survive. They started investing it so it lasts. There's a moment that sneaks up on you when you start doing this. It's subtle. You notice you're not counting down to payday as desperately. You realize a random expense doesn't knock the wind out of you anymore. You sleep a little better. And you don't immediately credit money for that. You just feel steadier. That steadiness is addictive, not in a greedy way, in a peaceful way. Because for the first time, you're not constantly bracing for impact. And that's when you understand something important. This was never about becoming rich, it was about escaping fragility. Fragility is when one small thing can ruin everything. One car repair, one slow week, one unexpected bill. Most people live in that state, and no one talks about how exhausting it is. So when you see people who look calm about money, that's usually why. They're not super wealthy, they're just not fragile. And the way out of fragility isn't grinding harder, it's building layers. Layers of income, layers of security, layers of time. Layer by layer, the pressure eases. And with less pressure, your life opens up. You stop rushing, you stop panicking, you stop making decisions out of fear. You start making them out of intention. That's a big shift. Because intention compounds. Fear just exhausts you. I want to be honest about something though. This path isn't glamorous. If you're looking for excitement, this isn't it. Most of the work happens quietly. Boring nights, uncelebrated progress. No one's clapping. And that's why most people never stick with it. They want proof before patience. But patience comes first. And patience is easier when you understand what you're building. You're not building wealth, you're building optionality. Options change how life feels. Options mean you don't have to take every shift. Options mean you don't have to tolerate every situation. Options mean you can pause without everything falling apart. That's real power. And power doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows up as calm, as confidence, as space. And once you feel that, even a little, you stop chasing chaos. You stop thinking the loudest person wins. You stop thinking suffering equals success. You start valuing sustainability. And sustainability isn't exciting, it's just effective. Here's something I wish someone had told me earlier. You don't need to win fast, you need to not lose. Most people lose because they burn out. They quit, they give up. Not because they weren't capable, because they were exhausted. If you build in a way that lets you keep going, you win by default. Time does the rest, and time is undefeated. Every small thing you build that lasts gives you a little more breathing room. And breathing room gives you energy, and energy lets you keep building. That's the cycle people don't talk about. It's not hustle, it's momentum. And momentum is how people get ahead without working more. At some point, you stop asking, is this even worth it? And you start asking, why didn't I do this sooner? Not because it suddenly became easy, but because it finally makes sense. You realize you weren't lacking discipline, you were lacking a direction that actually paid you back. That's a big difference. Discipline without payoff just turns into resentment, and a lot of people are walking around resentful without knowing why. Resentful of work, resentful of money, resentful of a life that feels harder than it should be. This shift changes that, because when your effort starts paying you back, you feel respected by your own time. Your time stops feeling wasted. Even on days when nothing obvious happens, you know you're planting something. That feeling is rare. Most people never feel it. They just feel tired. And tired people don't dream big, they just try to survive. But when survival isn't the only goal anymore, your thinking expands. You start asking different questions. What would make my life easier next year? What could reduce stress instead of adding to it? What could I build once and benefit from repeatedly? Those questions lead to different actions, not overnight, but over time. And time is the secret ingredient here. Everyone wants results fast, but fast results usually come with fragile foundations. Strong foundations take longer, but once they're built, they don't collapse easily. That's what you're really building, something sturdy, something that doesn't crumble the moment life gets messy. Because life will get messy, that's guaranteed. The goal isn't to control life, it's to be able to handle it. And people who seem like they're getting rich without working more are really just people who prepared for messiness. They built margin into their lives. Margin for mistakes, margin for rest, margin for growth. And margin is the opposite of stress. Stress is living with no room for error. Margin is having a cushion.